Shalom. It's Soldier Ehud Benaniyah, the Battle Axes of the Most High, coming to you with a early edition of Reverend Friday. Tawada to the Akim, Akwathium for the prayers, the household. Had to rush my wife to the hospital. Had a little bit of a scare, but all praise to the Most High. They didn't find anything, so since I'm up, the hospital keep you up 2, 3, 4, 5 hours in the morning. So I'm not going to sleep. I'm just gonna go ahead and feed the sheep, man. So all praise to the Most High for coming back with tests with nothing being found, no issues with her heart, no type of blood clots or anything that could be looked at as a problem, right? Shalom, shalom. Soldier Abraham, good to see you, King. All right. Up early with me this morning, right? Con. Shalom, Eric. Good to see y'all, man. Just getting everybody the opportunity to come on in, right? And again, I'm going to thank everybody for their prayers and well wishes in regards to it. I had a little bit of a scare when I had to rush on over to the ER. You can't be too careful sometimes, right? So gotta let the Lord work. And a lot of times he's showing you something, right? To prepare you for something else. This week's lesson is keeping the charge of the Most High, right? Shalom Adivah, Yipah, our beautiful real. Again, call Halal Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh. As y'all come on in, Babu Shah, double tap that screen or hit those 3 dots in the top right corner. Help spread the word of the Most High to the 4 corners of the earth. All right? Got a lot of stuff going on in the world. Y'all know they put them tariffs on different countries and whatnot. They complain about, what we got going on with Canada, but they said China got 100% tariff on Canada, right? So that type of situation is detrimental to how they do things, right? So just making sure y'all can see me. That light coming from above versus from the side. So I want to just make sure y'all can hear me, y'all can see me, man. Pray everybody be having a blessed week. I'm going to go ahead and get on into the class, right? Because we must exhort ourselves to obey the commandments of the Lord. Because without those commandments, what do we have? What opportunity do we have at the kingdom when we're not keeping those commandments, right? So I'm going to start out the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11, verse 1. It says, therefore, thou shalt love the Lord thy God, right? And keep his charge, right? Because a lot of times you hear people saying, oh, I love the Lord. Oh, I love the Lord. Yeah, I love Christ. But do you really love him? Do you love him enough to do exactly what his word says do, right? A lot of times, they don't love him like that. They don't love Christ like that, right? That's what it says, therefore thou shalt love the Lord thy God and keep his charge, right? We got to keep his charge. When he tells us to do something, hey, we got to do it. It says his statutes, right? And his judgments and his commandments always, right? So when they try to tell you that when Christ died on the cross, he did away with it, it's because they want to operate in sin. Now, a lot of times when they operate in sin, they want you to operate with them in sin so they don't feel guilty, right? That's the situation that they try to avoid. Maybe that's a little better, right? They want to make sure that you're operating in sin with them. And that's the sad part, trying to drag people down versus trying to pull people up because you want to see your family and your friends going to the kingdom of heaven, making it to the kingdom of heaven, right? But at the end of the day, it's all based on what you're going to do, right? Slip me up a little bit there, right? So again, we're going to start out. Therefore, thou shalt love the Lord thy God and keep his charge and his statutes and his judgments and his commandments always. No, Christ didn't die on the cross for you to be able to go sin. No, Christ didn't say he's doing away with the laws. No matter how many times y'all try to read it, Christ never said that. But if you think that, go to Revelations 22 and 14, you're going to be sadly mistaken when they open that book of life and that book of the laws. You're going to be like, oh, boy, I thought, no, it's going to be too late then, right? It's going to be too late. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to get into some examples of keeping the charge, because if the Lord said we got to love him, and we know that the love of the Lord is to keep the commandments, right? Keep his charge and his statutes and his judgments and his commandments always. Let's look at some examples of these charges actually being applied to our forefathers, right? We're going to go to Genesis 28 and 1. All right. Like I said, I pray everybody's having a blessed day so far. They're having a blessed week, right? The book of Genesis, chapter 28, verse 1. And Isaac called Jacob, right? Because Isaac was about to bless Jacob, right? But it says, Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan, right? So he gave him some very specific instructions, right? He blessed him, then he charged him. Then he said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan, right? Because this is a law, believe it or not. Let's go over to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 3, right? And it clearly reads, it says, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly, right? Because God commanded Israel to destroy the Canaanites and their idols, specific orders. When you go in here, this is what I want you to do, right? So Isaac charged Jacob and told him, look, when you go in here, do not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. We're not doing that, right? That was something off top the Most High did not want to go down, right? He did not want it to go that way. But a lot of times, hey, people get out there, they do what they want, but Jacob didn't do that. So how come it's much easier to sin nowadays than it is to keep the commandments of the Lord, right? Hold on, let me see something. Salakia, my internet is moving a little. Come on now. Now my phone screen, I want to slide down. All right, there we go. Come on. All right, there we go. Here we go. Everybody put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. I had to go ahead and get off that internet because I could see myself like buffering. For what reason, I don't know. But we all know how Esau like to play it. All right. Once trying to make sure everybody can hear me. All right. Let's go ahead and get back into it. So, like I was saying, we were commanded not to deal with the Canaanites. But again, it's easier for some people to do what they want than to do what the will of the Lord, to take that charge of the Lord, right? You want to take that charge. A lot of our people don't want to take that charge. They want to do what they want to do, right? But let's look at another example of our forefathers. Exodus 6:13. The Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, right? And gave them a charge unto the children of Israel and unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, right? Moses decided to do thus said the Lord. Aaron went along to do thus said the Lord. But guess what we got? We got the Pharaoh. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to play games. Oh, yeah. I'm going to let them free tomorrow. Tomorrow come, they're not free. So the Most High plague them, turn their blood to water. Give them the frogs. Give them the lice. Strike down their cattle, right? There's so many different occurrences that happen because the Lord wasn't on the side of the Pharaoh. He was on the side of Moses, right? He wanted his people free. He gave them a charge. He said, hey, go get my people. Go get your people. You tell the Pharaoh, let them go, right? But guess what? Pharaoh didn't want to go ahead and do so, right? And the charges that actually happened was the Most High taking like a hands-on approach with individuals, right? Because they be thinking, oh, the Lord loves everybody. No, the Lord doesn't love everybody. He didn't give everybody his charge, right? Well, prove it. So it went from Isaac to Jacob, right? Then it went from Moses and Aaron, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 3. Let's read a little bit further in. Let's see who else received a charge from the Most High to do his will, right? To do his will. Because you got to look at it. I have a charge to make sure I get up and do class. But I say, you know something? It doesn't make sense to just come home and, oh, I'm tired. I've been at the hospital all night with my wife and things of that nature. I'm going to just go to sleep and then try and get up. No, because you may not be at your best to bring out, thus say the Lord. It's the Most High instructs us to do, right? Book of Deuteronomy chapter 3, verse 28, right? As a matter of fact, I'm going to start at 27 to get a little bit more context. And it says, get thee up into the top of Pisgah, right? And lift up thy eyes westward and northward and southward and eastward. So he told him to look all around and behold it with thy eyes. For thou shalt not go over this Jordan, right? It says, but charge Joshua and encourage him and strengthen him, right? Because at this point, the Most High was telling, right? The Most High was telling Moses, you're not going into the promised land. But tell Joshua, go get Joshua, right? Encourage him, strengthen him, for he shall go over before this people, right? And he shall cause them to inherit the land which thou shalt see, right? So we have to look at this and say, wow, Moses didn't get out the spirit, even though he got charged to go in to Egypt with Aaron, go face to face, toe to toe with the Pharaoh, right? With his little wizards, through all the situations, he went through that because the Most High charged him to do so, right? And he encouraged him to do so. That's why he said, hey, charge up Joshua. He's next, right? So let's see what happened. Let's go over to Deuteronomy 31:7. Let's see if Joshua say, hey, nah, man, you done brought us this far, you might as well keep going, right? Let's see what Joshua said. Joshua was next in line, right, to lead the people because Moses was not, like I said, going into the promised land. He struck a rock out of frustration. And guess what? Moses said, okay, you done had enough, right? Deuteronomy 31:7. And Moses called unto Joshua, right? And said unto him, in the sight of all Israel, be strong and of good courage, for thou must go with this people into the land which the Lord hath sworn unto their fathers to give them, and thou shalt cause them to inherit it, right? And it says, and the Lord, he it is that do go before thee. He will be with thee. He will not fail thee, neither forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed, right? So Moses knew, hey, look, I'm not going. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage and exalt Joshua to go ahead and keep the actual charge of the Lord going, right? Not sure how many people would be able to take on that type of responsibility for that many people, right? I pray if I'm ever put in that position that I'm able to do the will of the Lord to actually lead the people, right? Shalom, Vass, and let's see here. Migs Moss, right? Get to see y'all, right? Everybody know I'm usually on around 11:30, 11:45, but I'm up early today. All praise to the Most High, right? Let's jump down to verse 14. It said, and the Lord said unto Moses, so the Lord had to speak to Moses and give him the word and say, hey, look, this is who I'm choosing. This is who we're going with. This is the first round draft pick. We're going to send him into the promised land, the people. He's going to pick up where you're going to leave off. He's going to keep my charge, right? It says, and the Lord said unto Moses, behold, thy days approach that thou must die. Now, Moses didn't question the Most High at that point. He had already got his charge. He had already had his relationship with the Most High, telling him, do this, do that, thus say me, right? He says, well, guess what? The days are approaching. You about to die, man, right? He didn't carry on or get out the spirit with the Most High. He accepted that and went and got Joshua and exalted him for the next phase of the journey for the children of Israel, right? It says, call Joshua and present yourselves in the tabernacle of the congregation, that I may give him a charge, right? So now he's picking. He didn't say, well, go get your brother Aaron. No. He said, go get Joshua. Because I know Joshua's going to do the next chapter of what I need done. So we're going in front of the congregation so I can give them a charge, right? And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of the congregation, right? You got to think about it. The Lord appeared in that tabernacle, right? A lot of people wouldn't be prepared to see that if you already remember the introduction of how the Most High met the children of Israel. Everybody stood afar off, right? They wasn't really privy to all the glory and might that the Most High had going, right? Jump down to verse 23. Let's look at what happened, right? It says, and he gave Joshua the son of Nun a charge and said, be strong and of good courage, because you're going to have to be strong to make decisions, right? When you get responsibility of leadership, you're going to have to be strong. You're going to have to have vision. You're going to have understanding. You're going to have compassion, tender mercy, long suffering. You're going to have the fruits of the Spirit to lead the flock of the Most High. You're going to need that. You can't do it without it, right? And it says, be strong and of good courage. What the courage for? You're gonna have to rebuke, right? You're gonna have that courage to tell somebody something that they may not want to hear, or that courage to fight through and carry on when everybody else is a little fearful, right? So we gotta have that courage as well, right? And it says, "For thou shalt bring the children of Israel into the land which I swear unto them, and I will be with thee," right? And it says, "And it came to pass when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in a book until they were finished," right? They had to create a, what's the word I'm looking for? They had to create a passing of the torch, right? Shalom, Judah, lands of Amos, right? They had to create a passing of the torch in this situation. That's why they had to go in front of the tabernacle, in front of the congregation, right? Because let's see why. We gotta have an understanding of why. We're gonna go over to Numbers 27 and 16. Because a lot of times you get a lot of Christianity will say, oh, well, anybody can lead. A woman can lead, right? A man can lead. Let's see what the Most High says, right? Because you get a lot of female evangelists and pastors and so-called prophetess and stuff like that. But the Most High had a clear understanding of how he did things. Numbers 27 and 16, right? I'm going to start at 15, right? It says, "And Moses spake unto the Lord, saying, Let the Lord God of the spirits of all flesh set a man over the congregation, which may go out before them, and which may go in before them, and which may lead them out, and which may bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord be not as sheep, which have no shepherd," right? And there's two precepts you can get. You can get that Matthew 27 and 55, or you can get Ezekiel 34 and 31, right? In regards to that. But we're going to keep reading. And it says, and I'm going to jump down to 19, and it says, set before him Eleazar, the priest, and before all the congregation, and give him a charge in their sight. And thou shalt put some of thine honor upon him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may be obedient. So it says, put some of thy honor upon him, right? Let's go over to 2 Kings. Let's look at what this looks like. Putting some of that honor among them, right? 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 9, right? And it reads, it says, "And it came to pass when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, Ask what I shall do for thee, before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me," right? So when we was reading in the 20th verse of Numbers, right? 27 and 20, right? And as you can see, it's pretty much giving you the same thing that that precept in. It says, "And thou shalt put some of thy honor upon him," right? He's telling him, you're going to put some of your honor upon Shalom, Aqua Fluidia, right? You're going to put some of your honor upon him, that the congregation of the children of Israel, right? They got to see that Moses is rocking with Joshua. Y'all put some respect on Joshua. He going to take over from now. We done went this long. We done went this far. I'm asking that y'all give him the same respect y'all gave me, because the Most High is choosing him. That's him putting some of thy honor upon him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may be obedient, in that statute, right? We gotta make sure that when we have children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews in the truth, that we're putting some of that honor on them, right? That we're doing like 2 Kings 2:9, right? Giving that double portion, right? We need that. We need that to be of good courage. We need that to be obedient to the Lord. Believe it or not, we need that. There's some things out here that are frightful for some people to do, right? But this is the reason why Elisha asked Elijah before he took over his actual position, right? I pray thee, let a double portion of that spirit be upon me. And let's see what he said to him, right? And he says, and he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so, right? But guess what? Elisha saw it. He got that double portion, right? He got that double portion. And guess what? As soon as he got that double portion, he was making his way, right? And he ran into some children. And those children were getting a little disrespectful, to say the least, right? And guess what? He turned around. They was calling him bald head, go out thou bald head, right? And he looked on them and he cursed them in the name of the Lord. Now, most people would have said, oh, you can't do that. No. He had to make an example, right? Because if it wasn't so, the Most High would not have had those she-bears tear those 42 children to pieces. He wouldn't have had it done. If it wasn't something that was in the will of the Lord, right? Don't know how long those children been bad. You don't know how long they've been needing some reprimandment, right? But guess what? The Lord honored that. And those bears did what the Most High put on their spirit to do, whether their parents liked it or not, right? Let me look at something real quick. Give me 1 second. Because you got to be, like I said, it's going to be some hard things, right? It's going to be some hard things that's going to be difficult. All right? Oh, okay, that's referring to. Let's go on over to 1 Kings. Because we got to be prepared to take this charge. He said, keep those commandments, right? You may think, oh man, if I smoke 1 cigarette, nothing going to happen. Are you keeping the charge? I'm just going to go ahead and do X, Y, Z. Are you keeping the charge? Oh, he's a nice guy. I'm going to just give him my phone number, but you got a husband. Are you keeping the charge? And vice versa. She's a nice female. You got a wife at home. Taking the number, knowing that she's looking at you in a sexual way. Are you keeping the charge of the Lord? Because he's given us straight commandments. And when we start to decide we're going to do what we want to do, it's going to be calamity each and every time, right? And it may cost you your life. You want to play around the Lord? Okay, no problem, right? No problem. Hey, he said he killeth and he maketh alive. Don't test the Lord on that. Don't make him flip the coin on if your candlestick get removed, right? Go to 1 Kings. We're going over to the second chapter, right? Because David gave charge to Solomon to keep the charge of the Most High and to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Let's look at how that conversation went, right? It says, now in the days of David drew nigh that he should die. So again, it's on his deathbed, just like Moses was about to go ahead and go on over to the other side, right? But guess what? He had something to do before he left, and that was to charge Joshua. So now David's time is drew nigh that he should die, and he charged Solomon, his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong, therefore, and shew thyself a man. So the first thing he said is, you're going to be strong. I need you to be strong and show yourself a man. Don't be out here playing with what the Lord is giving you, the abilities, the opportunities, the wisdom, knowledge, discernment. Hey, guess what? He said, hey, that ain't nothing to play with, right? Verse 3, it says, and keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself, right? You got to look at, when you're charged by the Lord to do something, that's not something you can just turn off, right? That's not something that you can just walk away from. He's like, look, he's blessed you, right? I'm telling you, go out here and be a man. Don't be a wimp about it. Do thus say the Lord, just like our ancestors, Moses, right? Joshua, right? Those that have come before you, right? Let's go over to 1 Chronicles 22. Let's look at something really quick. Tell my son all the time, can't be out here messing up. You never know what the Most High is going to use you for. You can't not be ready to be used by the Lord, to take that charge. You never know. Just think about it. Esther had to take that charge during Purim, right? They had to do that fast, that sackcloth, right? She had to go in there and present herself to Artaxerxes. And she was like, if I die, I die. I know I ain't supposed to be in here unless he called me in here. But she's willing to take that charge, right? She's willing to take it. It's like the Maccabees. Y'all want to keep attacking us on the Sabbath. And these heathens love to do that. Guess what? We ain't going for it this time. We're going to be waiting for them. And guess what? On the Sabbath, we going to put in work. They're going to be big surprise, right? Oh, yeah, we just going to go push them. We going to just, nah. We waiting on you this time, right? We waiting on you. Let's go to 1 Chronicles 22, right? And I'm going to start at verse 12, right? It says, only the Lord give thee wisdom and understanding, and give thee charge concerning Israel, that thou mayest keep the law of the Lord thy God. Then shalt thou prosper, if thou takest heed to fulfill the statutes and the judgments which the Lord charged Moses with concerning Israel. Be strong and of good courage, dread not, nor be dismayed, right? So what was being done right there, David was quoting Moses' charge to Joshua unto Solomon, giving him history and exhorting his ancestors, right? This is what we need to be doing with our children. This is what we need to be doing with those who we say we love in the truth, right? Exhorting them, building them up, right? Because guess what? The fight must keep going. It's not going to just stop. Oh, well, hey, look, we lost a lot of members, so we will just pack it in. That's going to be the end of it. Nah, that's not the end of it, right? David had a lot to actually do before he got out of there, right? Go over to Chronicles 9, 1 Chronicles 9, right? Let's look at more of what David had to do, because it's not just the fact of accepting the charge, it's giving the charge. That passing of the torch is like a baton. It has to be done correctly. It has to be done correctly, right? 1 Chronicles chapter 9, and I'm going to start at verse 22, right? It says, all these which were chosen to be potters in the gates were 212, These were reckoned by their genealogy in their villages, right? So when Christians try to use that, oh, endless genealogies of you guys actually saying, hey, you're the Israelites. Shalom, Andre. See you, right? Khan, good morning to you too, Al. Barakwa Tawab or Tawab Barakwa, right? See, we gotta really look at it in a situation of if David or Moses or whomever that was passing on these mighty words to say, hey, you know where we come from, you know our pedigree, you know the tribes we represent, you know the God we serve. We have something to do, right? We have something to do. That's the reason why it showed right here when he said they were reckoned by their genealogy and they come against us nowadays and say, hey, you didn't take a DNA test. How do you know you're an Israelite? Right? That's the bickering of endless genealogies right there. Because I'm going to tell you something. We knew who we were by the pedigree of our father, right? It didn't go into, oh, well, you got to do 23andMe. Those things are ran by algorithms. They're ran by computer software systems that'll tell you that you're 3% bald eagle, 2% wild West Hemisphere gopher. And that doesn't make sense. That's confusion, right? That's confusion. But these were reckoned by their genealogy in their villages, whom David and Samuel, the seer, right, did obtain in their set office because they went ahead and picked them from 212, right, porters that were chosen, right? And they were reckoned by their genealogy. They came from a good steed, a good background. So they knew the work was going to get done, right? As we know, Samuel was a powerful, mighty prophet, right? David was a powerful king. He was a prophet as well. He prophesied as well. Most people don't know that, right? But they did the Most High put on their spirit for them to ordain those actual porters in to their set offices, right? Let's jump down to verse 26. It says, for these Levites, right, the 4 chief porters were in their set office and were over the chambers and treasuries of the house of God. And they lodged around about the house of God because the charge was upon them, and the opening thereof every morning pertained to them. They had responsibility, right? They had things that needed to be done, thus say the Lord, not just thus say me, right? It was thus say the Lord. Give me a second. Let's see. Salakia. They had a job to do, right? They had a job. Let's go to verse 28. It says, certain of them had the charge of the ministering vessels, right? That they should bring them in and out by tale. Some of them also were appointed oversee the vessels, Salakia, and all the instruments of the sanctuary, and the fine flour, and the wine, and the oil, and the frankincense, and the spices. And some of the sons of the priests made the ointment of the of the spices. So there was a lot to be done. This is the reason why these 212 individuals that was chosen by David and Samuel were ordained to these offices because they had to do thus say the Lord. They had to do the will of the Lord, right? Jumping me over to chapter 23, we're going to stay in Chronicles, right? Because like I said, David was doing a lot before, his time was to come for him to pass that charge on to Solomon, right? So there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done before Christ's return. We got to be on point. We got to come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments. First Chronicles 23 and 32, right? It says, and that they should keep the charge, right? Matter of fact, hold on. And get a little bit more context, right? Let's get a little context. I'm going to jump up to 28. It says, because their office was to wait on the sons of Aaron for the service of the house of the Lord in the courts and the chambers, and the purifying of holy things, and the work of the service of the house of God, right? Verse 30, I'm going to jump down to 30. And to stand every morning to thank and to praise the Lord likewise at even. So they had a lot of responsibility, morning, noon, night, but in this situation, morning and night. To thank the Lord, to praise the Lord. These Levites were chosen by David to make sure that this was done every single day without any excuse, right? And it says, and to offer all burnt sacrifices unto the Lord in the Sabbaths, in the new moons, and on the set feasts by number according to the order commanded unto them continually before the Lord. There was no stopping to that. There was no, hey, it's raining today, we're not going to do it. They're out there, rain, sleet, and snow, doing thus say the Lord. Hallelujah, right? Verse 32, that they should keep the charge of the tabernacle of the congregation. All of those things that I was going over, right? And it was more the shewbread, right? That was baked in the pan, the unleavened bread, all of that that's going, right? The things in and out, the holy things inside of the temple that nobody was supposed to have any access to. Guess what? That's their responsibility. That's their charge. These commandments are our charge. We're supposed to be keeping them no matter what, right? No matter what. And it says, and the charge of the holy place. And so I'm going to start over. It says, and they that should keep the charge of the tabernacle of the congregation. You couldn't even touch the tabernacle of the Most High, the Ark of the Covenant. That would put you in a situation of automatic death, because it was something that holy, right? It says the charge of the holy place, the holy temple. You couldn't come in there, because guess what? You had blemishes, you had certain situations going on with your body. Couldn't come in there. The Most High had these individuals here to prevent any of his most holy things to be, I wouldn't say discredited, but to be disrespected, right? The Most High is big on respect in regards to the things that he gives us that's holy and set apart, right? It says, and the charge of the sons of Aaron, their brethren, in the service of the house of the Lord. These Levites had things to do. When you jump up to 26, it clearly tells you, and also unto the Levites, they shall no more carry the tabernacle, nor any vessels of it for the service thereof. Right? It says, for by the last words of David, the Levites were numbered from 20 years old and above. So he had certain individuals by age, by, let's say, by expertise in regards to what needed to be done. That's a mighty, mighty charge and opportunity to do something for the Lord. Man, hallelujah. We have opportunities to do that now. We got to rededicate ourselves to the Lord so we can be worthy of things like this, right? Jump me over to 2nd Ezra chapter 2. Right? And we're going straight to verse 33, right? And it reads, this is, I, Ezra, received a charge of the Lord upon the Mount Oreb, right? That I should go unto Israel, Salakia. But when I came unto them, they set me at naught and despised the commandment of the Lord, right? So he was charged to go do something. And guess what? Israel wasn't going for it. They wasn't trying to get rebuked. They despised the commandments. What do you mean I can't have pork? What do you mean adultery's not okay? What do you mean I can't charge usury? What do you mean I gotta pay him before the sunset? Right? What do you mean I gotta make it to the feast days? I gotta do this on the feast day. I gotta do this, right? This isn't pleasing to the Lord. Oh, what do you mean? How dare you come to tell me what I'm doing? I'm a whole adult, like they like to say. That's what the youngsters like this. I'm a whole adult, right? Or we like to say we're a grown behind man, a grown behind woman, right? They'll say that. They didn't receive the charge that Ezra brought, right? Stay with me. Hold up. Let's jump over to Kings 17 and 15. Let's look at something, right? Let's look at something. Right? 2 Kings 17 and 15. Let's see what it says. Right? It says, and they were, matter of fact, I'm going to go from 13. I'm going to jump up to 13. And it says, yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets, just like Ezra right here when he said, hey, when he came upon them, when he came unto them, they set me at naught and despised the commandments of the Lord. Let's see what this says. Verse 13, 2 Kings 17 and 13. Yet the Lord testified against Israel, against Judah, by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, turn ye from your evil ways and keep my commandments and my statutes according to all the law which I commanded your fathers and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks like to the neck of their fathers, that they did not believe in the Lord their God, and they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers and his testimonies, which he testified against them. And they followed vanity and became vain and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them. Right? We read that earlier, right? Where did we read that at? It was right here in Genesis 28 and 1 and Deuteronomy 7 and 3. Don't take their daughters to be with your sons. Don't let your daughters be with their sons. We're not doing that, right? But see, they rejected. Ezra received a charge. He tried to give the charge to the people. They rejected it, right? They rejected it. And a lot of our people who did accept it was a smaller number, right? Majority rules, we ain't doing that. And that's the sad part. Let's go over to 2 Maccabees 2, right? Going over to 2 Maccabees 2. And we're going to go straight to it, verse 2. It says, and how that the prophet, right? And this is 2 Maccabees chapter 2 and 2. How that the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Lord, and that they should not err in their minds when they see the images of silver and gold with their ornaments. You can go to Jeremiah 10 and 2. And this is another precept in regards to telling us not to keep Christmas, right? Because that's something that has to do with Nimrod. We don't celebrate that. We keep the Feast of Dedications, Hanukkah. We keep that, right? We just came off of keeping the destruction of Nicanor, right? As well as the Feast of Purim. Two great high holy days, giving the Most High the actual praise and glory that he should receive, right? So they charged them not to forget the commandments of the Lord. 1 Timothy. We're going to 1 Timothy 1 and 3, right? And it says, as I besought thee to abide at Ephesus when I was in Macedonia, that thou mightest charge some that they teach no other doctrine, right? And we already know what that doctrine is, right? The good doctrine. Let's look at it. Let's go get it real quick. I'm not going to go straight there. I'm going to John 2 first, right? I'm going to John 2, and I'm going straight to 9 and 10. It says, whosoever, and this is the book of the second epistle of John, right? And we're going chapter 1, verse 9. Whosoever transgresseth, Salakia, and abideth not in the doctrine, right? Proverbs 4 and 2 of Christ, that good doctrine, have not God. He's telling you up front, just like it says, he was letting them know, hey, we don't want you teaching no other doctrine. That's what Timothy 1 and 3 is saying. Charge them that they teach no other doctrine. When we go right here to verse 9, it says, whosoever transgresseth and abideth not in the doctrine of Christ have not God. You go to Proverbs 4 and 2, it tells you that that's the good doctrine. That's the doctrine of Christ, right? It says, he that abideth in the doctrine of Christ, he have both the Father and the Son. So again, when they try to tell you, oh, Christ died to destroy all the sins, and Christ is God. Well, guess what? It says you have both the Father and the Son, showing the separation right there. Let's get verse 10. That's all tied in. If there come any unto you, and bring not this doctrine. Which doctrine? The doctrine of Christ. Proverbs 4 and 2, right? It says, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed. For he that biddeth him Godspeed is partaker in his evil deeds, right? We got to make sure we're doing thus say the Lord. This is where you need that courage, right? This is where you need that courage at that it was talking about in the scripture. You're going to need, this is where you're going to need to be of good courage and strong. Strong enough, guess what? Not to bid them to Godspeed, not to let them into your house, to rebuke them and say, hey, you transgressing right there. You're transgressing the doctrine of Christ. And so we go out here and we have these dialogues with individuals who don't believe the report, who don't believe the word of the Most High, right? They find out the hard way. And a lot of them gnash their teeth and point their finger. I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to do that. Guess what? We ain't never been worried. Battle Axe has never been scared. We look at that and say, okay, that's how you feel. We'll be right here when you come back, right? We'll be right here. Jump with me over to Jeremiah 32, right? This is a different kind of charge, right? This is a different kind of charge right here, but it's a charge nonetheless, right? We'll do a little bit of reading, right? Jeremiah was charging his scribe, Baruch, right? The book of Jeremiah 32 and 6. Then Jeremiah said, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, behold, Hanamiel, the son of Shallum, thy uncle, shall come unto thee, saying, buy thee my field that is in Anathoth, for the right of the redemption is thine to buy it. And Hanamiel, my uncle's son, came to me in the court of the prison according to the word of the Lord, and said unto me, buy my field, I pray thee, that is in Anathoth, which is in the country of Benjamin, right? For the right of inheritance is thine, and the redemption is thine. buy it for thyself, then I knew that this was the word of the Lord, right? So right now, Jeremiah is getting ready to buy a field, right, from an individual because they wanted to make sure that the Benjamites had their inheritance. And big up to all my Benjamite counterparts, man, throughout the West Indies, right? Verse 9, it says, and I bought the field of Hanil with my uncle's son that was in Ananath, and weighed him the money, even 17 shekels of silver. And I subscribed the evidence and sealed it, and took witnesses, and weighed him in the money in the balances. So I took the evidence of the purchase, both that which was sealed according to the law and the custom, right? According to the law and the custom. We gotta look at these laws and customs, right? Hold your spot right here. Put a marker right here for a second. Let me get this law. Numbers 36 and 7. And it said, according to the law and custom, right? This is a charge. When it's according to the law and custom of the Lord, it's a charge, right? It says, so I took the evidence of the purchase, both that was sealed according to the law and custom, that which was open. Because guess what? It was talking about what? The right of inheritance. That's the law that was being referred to. So we're going straight to Numbers 36 and 7, right? And it says, so shall not the inheritance of the children of Israel remove from tribe to tribe. For every one of the children of Israel shall keep himself to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers. Meaning, they didn't want the land switching up, right? They didn't want the land going that belongs to the Levites, well, Salaki, from the Benjamites going over to Nephtali. They didn't want Zebulon land belonging to Gad. It's going to create confusion, right? Yes, Andre, this was during that siege, right? This was during the siege. This was in the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar where Jeremiah bought this field, right? But the Most High was starting to replenish the land that was lost during this actual siege, right? So let's go back, all right? Verse 12, and I gave the evidence of the purchase to Baruch, the son of Neriah, the son of Maaseiah, in the sight of Hanamel, my uncle's son, and in the presence of the witnesses that subscribed the book of the purchase before all the Jews that sat in the court of the prison. And I charged Baruch before them, saying, thus say the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, take these evidences, this evidence of the purchase, both which is sealed and this evidence which is open, and put them in an earthen vessel, that they may continue many days. Right? For thus say the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, houses and fields and vineyards shall be possessed again in this land. Right? He's starting to give back. Right? He was starting to give back Khan. Right? That's exactly where I went into to actually get that law of inheritance. It has to go where the Most High wants it to go, because guess what? Just like the vineyard that what was his name? I think it's Ahab had wanted the brother's vineyard, and he went and cried to Jezebel complaining. He wouldn't give me his vineyard because he told him, hey, look, this belongs to my inheritance. I can't give you the vineyard. And he went off like a crybaby. Then they wrongfully put that brother to death by creating treason and all types of deception that wasn't pleasing to the Lord just to get that vineyard. Right? I offered him money, he didn't want it. You wanted him to break the law, and he wasn't going to do it. So because he refused to do it, now all of a sudden, y'all imagine evil in your heart, got other people to imagine evil in their heart, and had him put to death, right? I'm going to go to my last precept, which also is the law for today's class. Let's go over to Matthew 22, 30. Yeah, we're going over to 22. Right. Call halal, Yahweh Ba'ashim Mashiach Yahushua, the water Yahweh for all the alms that you guys send in via Cash App, GoFundMe, however you guys are sending the alms that the Most High put on your heart. We thank you for that. They're being put to righteous deeds, right? I'm going to get this law here. We're going to get Yahushua, right? We're going to get Yahushua to actually bring this law, right? I'm going to start at verse 36, right? The book of Matthew, chapter 22 and 36. It says, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Yahushua said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. It's the first and great commandment. And you can find that first and great commandment in Exodus 20 and 2. Right? Because he was just going to quote the law, right? And when you read it, right, it tells you right here. The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, right? This is how you show the Most High that you love him with all your mind, all your heart, all your soul. This is how you take the charge of the Lord, right? This law was charged by Yahushua. Keep my Father's commandments, right? At John 14 and 15, if you love me, keep the commandments. If you love my Father, keep the commandments, right? These are the charges of the Israelites, to actually keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Lord to his return. And even after his return, we're going to be keeping those laws in the kingdom as well. But the Most High is not going for it. He only wants the best. Our time is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. We must charge our children. We must charge our wives. Wives, you must charge your husbands, right? As well as your children as well. Your brothers, your sisters. We must do thus said the Lord. Because if we're not, you can't be upset with the outcome if he say, get down from me, I never knew thee. You can't get upset about that, right? I know I don't want to hear that. I don't want my brothers and sisters in Israel to hear that. So we got to just do thus say the Lord, man. Again, I'm just Soldier Ehud Benaniyah Shirala. I'm just a humble servant of the Lord. I am nothing without the grace and tender mercies of the Lord allowing me to abide in those, right? And giving me the opportunity to have the breath of life each and every day to hold myself accountable, to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, as well as holding my rib and my children accountable, as well as my members of my congregation and those of my nation that I may come in contact with on a daily basis. We have things that we need to do. We need to take the charge of the Lord, right? We need to have that good courage, right? We need to have that strength as well. We need to show ourselves to be mighty men, mighty women. Because if we're not doing that, right, we're gambling with our grace. Again, I'm Soldier Ehud Benaniyah Shirala. Give a call, halal Yahweh Ba'ashim Mashiach Yahushua. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yasharallah, Barakatah Akim Wa Akwatim Shemai. With that, got a wall, shalom. Have a blessed day of preparation.